Heads up, this is all about the current early access build of The Flame in the Flood. Keep it in mind that we may visit this game again later on, and everything seen is subject to change. It's hard to say how long the world's been like this, drowned and churning. You think about that every now and then. How people were always preoccupied by the disaster of the day that they never thought to look ahead. And when something like this finally happened, well, not many were prepared. You were lucky though. Not necessarily prepped for this situation, but you still managed to survive somehow. Now you're just trying to keep surviving. The Flame in the Flood is a top-down survival game created by the developers at The Molasses Flood, a team made up of people that previously worked in the AAA video game industry. People from the art director of BioShock to the developers of Halo, Rock Band, and Guitar Hero. Set in our world, or one similar, after a massive flood, you play as Scout, a girl who's simply trying to stay alive in these insane conditions. By pure luck, a dog you've never seen before finds you and brings with it a backpack filled with a few supplies and a radio. And then, well, the game begins. There are two modes of play right now. A campaign mode that has you trying to survive as you complete a main story mission, and any other missions that you pick up. And an endless mode that has you simply trying to survive as long as possible in an infinite, procedurally generated world. For the most part, The Flame in the Flood sticks to the standard conventions of the modern-day survival genre, and it doesn't deviate too much. You'll get hungry, thirsty, tired, and cold. If any of these bars gets too low, you'll die, and you have to scavenge and craft in order to keep that from happening. The crafting system is pretty well done and has you following pretty believable recipes to create actual survival tools. I mention this because there seems to be a trend in this genre of being able to craft crazy complex things like firearms from a stick and some rocks. Now that's an exaggeration, but I think the point stands. You won't find that here, and I think that's a pretty good choice. Instead, you'll be making things like penicillin to stave off infections, or ash cakes to feed yourself just a little bit. It's fitting that the things you craft are so base level to survival, given that most of what your characters learned about wilderness survival she learned from a scout handbook that she was lucky enough to find. What truly sets The Flame in the Flood apart from other survival games is twofold. First, a good portion of the game is spent on a raft, riding the river wherever it'll take you. You need to steer to avoid obstacles, upgrade and repair your raft with materials that you've scavenged, and sometimes you have to make tough choices about which places you'll visit. Since you're constantly moving and you can't go against the flow of the river, there will be many times where you simply can't visit every spot in a region, and that can sometimes come back to bite you. Second, the game's atmosphere is like no other. The soundtrack, created by Ragan, adds so much to the tone of your journey. The melancholy mixture of the acoustic folk tunes with the almost Tim Burton style of the game's visuals and its almost methodical gameplay pace creates a truly unique atmosphere and environment and tone. Honestly, though the game can at times get stressful, it's easily one of the most relaxing and involved survival games that I've ever played. It's so easy to just give yourself to the atmosphere and simply enjoy the journey that I ended up playing it for half a day without even realizing it. That said, like so many other early access survival games, The Flame in the Flood suffers from a lack of variety. There's definitely plenty to see and do, but you'll very often come across repeated area layouts, and until a bit later in the game, there aren't a lot of threats except running out of supplies. There's at least one person that you can interact with, but she seems to be a pretty rare occurrence. Simply put, this game just needs more of what it already has. A wider variety of area layouts, more NPCs to interact with in interesting ways, and perhaps more subtle threats. The Flame in the Flood is a very solid base for what could be an incredible survival game, one that puts atmosphere and gameplay on the same tier of importance and creates an emotional experience for the player. The developers just need to put the incredible atmosphere they have to use and tell stories that make the player feel something. You can pick it up on Steam for about 20 bucks. If you like survival games, then this is definitely one to either pick up or keep a very close eye on. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Indie Bytes. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please remember to leave a like and subscribe for more stuff like this. Be sure to check out the other content that we put out on this channel, and remember to drop me a line here on Twitter or through email with any game recommendations that you've got. You can find all that stuff down in the description below. I'll see you next time. Bye!